Hello again, Cyberworld, back again. And today I'm going to be doing a number 5 from my list, which is finding stable work and income. So this is quite an important one, massively important, really. So one of the biggest challenges to moving to another country, to a foreign country, is securing a stable job and income. So for myself personally, living here in Italy, while it's an amazing place, supposedly an amazing place to live, its job market is very difficult, very hard, complex to break into, especially for us foreigners who don't really speak Italian. So it would be the same for anyone else if you move to another country, possibly, unless in a country that is, very aligned with the culture of business English or English for business. The combination of high unemployment rates here in Italy and bureaucratic red tape and complex tax regulations makes finding work and maintaining financial stability a major hurdle for many expats. So, like myself, personal experience, I found it increasingly very, very hard to find employment in this country. Going back and giving more context, so when I first moved here in 2018, I worked for a kind of a tech company in London. Now, I remember before coming here in 2018, so maybe about 2017, the technical director of the company that I worked for was very clued up. I remember having a conversation with him once after work drinks, and he was telling me the future is remote working, especially for companies such as the company I was working for, which was a tech company where majority of everything is done via computer. A lot of coding and lots of meetings and stuff were done via Skype back then. And so there was a lot of people from the company that would basically work from home. So my boss, my personal boss, used to hate it. He used to hate on a Monday morning when he'd got up and come maybe a 2-hour train journey into London and then sit there, open up his emails, and he'd see endless emails in his box from people in the company that says WFH, work from home. So there'd be endless people on a Monday morning, haven't come to work. He'd come all the way to work and he used to get livid about it, that all these people were working from home. Funnily enough, actually, over the course of time with COVID and everyone having to work from home, he become a convert, and it got to the stage then that he used to hate going to the office on the days that he had to go to the office. He'd much rather prefer to stay at home, eat digestive biscuits, drink cups of tea. So my old technical director basically told me that the future was going to be remote, and he was allowing a lot of people, a lot of employees to work from home. And he basically said to us, when I said that we wanted to move to Italy, he said, "Oh yeah, no problem at all. You'd just be able to work remotely from Italy. No problem whatsoever." And we had a team of people. I mean, he was a South African guy, this technical director. So he had a team of other people that were helping us that were also based in South Africa. And other times we also had people, like a team of people that worked in India, because I think basically because it was cheaper for them to do that than getting other people in London. So we had parts of our team that would be outsourced to India or South Africa. So when I moved here, 2018, it wasn't a problem. It was all cool. Basically, I could just work from Italy. But then gradually it started to change. I mean, over the course of COVID, people started getting made redundant, not necessarily within the company that I worked for. I mean, just in general, other companies. And so I was always told, and when I went back to London, one of the times when maybe in 2019 or 2020, I went back to London to go visit my family. And obviously I basically said to my boss, I'd be coming to London to come into the office to come and see them. So I arranged that. I went with my boss. We used to work in an office in London Bridge. So I went into this London Bridge office, and it was quite close to Borough Market. So I went with my boss for lunch to Borough Market. Now, in hindsight, I wish I'd have been a lot more switched on, because thinking back to that conversation, the signals were all there basically that he kept saying to me, so what are you going to do? Oh yeah, you could get plenty of work using Fiverr. And he was basically baiting me and basically saying to me, look, your job's not necessarily secure. But he didn't say that to me outright. He was basically just giving me little hinters. I think he was too scared to actually say to me, look, mate, I'll tell you on a personal level that your job's at risk and you'd probably be one of the first people that would go if and when redundancies will start to happen. There was also another guy who used to work in Poland. So we were basically the first people to go when the redundancies hit in COVID times. So I was told by my technical director that remote was the future, but then gradually over the course of COVID, you started to see people having to go back to the office. After COVID started to wrap up, they wanted people to come back to the office because obviously the billionaire, the elite wankers out there obviously had money in real estate and offices, and they were starting to see a lot of companies who were starting to basically try to go completely remote. They were getting rid of offices so they would save money on having to pay rent and allowing a lot of people to just work remotely. And then it got to the case that everyone had to start coming back to the office. I mean, there is still remote jobs out there, I believe, but now they're not quite as many. Back during COVID times, everything used to be remote and it wasn't a problem. So that's where the challenge really came for me, is now if I'm lucky enough to find a job that's remote, I mean, I look predominantly only really for English speaking jobs, which I've basically discovered, or I've come to discover here in Rome, that whereas there is some of these jobs, there's so little of them for all of those people to be able to do that are English speaking. Especially with myself, I said previously that I was very, very naive when I first got here. I just assumed that Rome being a city, I thought it was going to be kind of similar to London, that they would have like a special part of the city. Like in London, you've got Shoreditch and all of that area, which is like the creative hub. I think there was a roundabout, which was basically meant to be London's version of Silicon Valley. It's where all the app companies were and design companies around Shoreditch and all around that area. So I kind of thought that when I come to Rome that there was going to be something similar, like a part of Rome that was just for the creative industry. But I've come to discover that just isn't the case at all. I mean, all of these types of businesses, creative businesses, are basically, they're all up north, up in Milan, and I just don't have the ability myself to be getting onto a train and going to Milan and working from Milan and having to commute. This goes back, my whole purpose of coming to here was just so I didn't have to do the commute anymore. I kind of thought that life was just going to revolve around me just working remotely. And so I look for these companies in London, and nowadays the whole thing has changed. Even if it says that it's a remote job, they expect you to at least come into the office once, twice, maybe 3 times a week. So they predominantly want people to be remotely within the country. So I'm basically completely locked out of being able to find any job for a London company. Further to that, I believe has something also to do with corporation tax, and they don't want the taxes going out of the UK tax system and going into some other country's tax system. So it's all very stupid and complex. And that's where I find myself basically. So there will be some jobs that are English speaking, but you'll find that they're quite happy to, a lot of young Italian people are quite clued up and can speak English, so they basically will outnumber me. They will hire someone, a native person, Italian native person that can speak Italian and English. So this is the predicament that I'm finding myself in. So just to read a bit more from my list, it says a competitive and challenging job market. Unlike in the UK, where job opportunities are often more abundant and salaries are higher, Italy's job market is much tougher, especially in certain regions. The north, Milan, Turin, Bologna, tend to have more opportunities, while the south struggles with high unemployment and low wages. Many Italian graduates also find it hard to secure stable employment, making competition fierce for expats. So that just further goes on to continue basically what I've just said. Even Italian graduates find it hard to find stable employment. That's why a lot of the Italian people, young Italian people, learn to speak perfect English so they can then go off to America, to the UK or Australia or somewhere and find jobs over there. Going back to my actual type of job that I do, so I'm a creative person and I do like motion graphics. So as I also said previously before, I was in a band with one of my neighbours here who he actually works as a video editor for the national broadcaster, which is called Rai, which is basically like Italy's version of the BBC. He is like a video editor and chops up all the documentaries, and the bass player in that band also was a motion graphics person like myself. So I got speaking to him once and sort of said, so, you know, where do I find these types of jobs? You know, like whereas in England you actually have recruitment consultants that actually specialize in creative industries, but as to today, still now 7-8 years on whatever, I still not found any type of recruitment consultant website that specifically specializes in creative industry jobs. So it's a complex, but he basically said to me, he said, your best bet is to find a job in London. He basically said, don't even bother trying to find one here, because even if you were lucky enough to find one here, the money is just going to be rubbish. He's just said it like that. He said the money is just caca. Shit. Let's read on a bit. So some of the biggest challenges include limited English speaking jobs. Outside of international companies and tourism, most jobs require fluent Italian. I'm far from fluent. Preference for Italian workers. Many businesses prioritise hiring locals due to language and cultural familiarity. It's not an easy word to say. Lower salaries. Even in skilled professions, wages are often lower than in the UK, while taxes and the cost of living can be unexpectedly high. Long hiring processes. It's common for job applications and interviews to drag on for months before a decision is made. So let's dig into that a bit. I've already said about limited English speaking jobs. I'll come back to that one actually. Preference for Italian workers, I've already mentioned that. Lower salaries, I've already mentioned that. Long hiring processes. So take for instance, I've recently had an interview for a job that I'm not exactly sure 100% where it is based, but I think it is based in Italy. My first interview, I had a round of interviews so far. My first interview was with an Italian guy, spoke perfect English, it was fine. And that's what they're looking for. Basically, I was lucky enough to find one of these jobs that required an English speaker because their team is remote, so he's somewhere in the south of Italy. I believe there's people in Milan. He said that there's people in India and Africa. I had a second interview last 3 days ago with the content manager, and he's based in South Africa. So it's more of a global company. But yeah, did the first interview with him right at the end of March. And he said to me that they were trying to find someone because they wanted to start this new project in April. Well, now today is the 26th of April, and I only just had my second interview with this guy. Like, he basically said to me, the first guy said to me that there'd be a process that we would probably have to go through 3 different interviews. I did the first one with him, and then I didn't hear anything back from him. So I assumed I didn't get the job. Then out of nowhere, weirdly, 11:30 at night on a Saturday night or something, I get an email from the first guy again saying, oh, look, we've changed the whole process and we're going to do a second interview. So I had a second interview with the South African guy. But talk about long hiring process. I mean, they said that they wanted to start this thing in April. It's almost the end of April coming up to May. So there's that. Again, it's kind of different. I've never had an interview for an English company where they've said that they wanted to start in April and then be left in the lurch, for so long. They literally, I do an interview and then maybe the week after at maximum 2 weeks after, you'll either hear yes or no. You know, this is almost gone on a month now. So what else does it say on my list? Expats who do find work often land jobs in sectors like teaching English. So this is what I was going to come back to. Limited English speaking jobs. Majority of people say to me when I say that I have no job here in Italy, they all say to me, teach English. Why don't you teach English? Just like it's that easy. And I have tried, I've gone to many sites and tried to find people. So far I've only managed to have 2 people that replied to me, and I only literally did 1 hour with each of those people, and then I didn't hear anything else from them again. Because you find the problem is there's a lot of people, basically. So as I say, all of these American, Australian, English people come here, they can't find any other jobs, so they all end up basically becoming English teachers. So again, it's just oversaturated. There's just so many people willing to teach English that the competition becomes even more fierce. So that's where I ended up starting my other YouTube channel with my daughter, trying to teach English to Italian kids. This is my niche, because I've not seen many YouTube videos out there of kids themselves teaching other kids. It's always an adult basically trying to teach kids, and I found that my daughter just gets bored. But watched my daughter numerous times when she's watching her YouTube videos. As long as there's another child on the screen, she's there engaged, totally watching the whole time. And I mean, I've seen adults that basically try to dress up and pretend to be like some kind of a kid character, and I just thought, just an idiot. Why bother? It's just stupid. You're just making yourself look like a fool. So yeah, that's why I basically set that up. And the next one after that, tourism and hospitality. I mean, I spent years and years and years learning Photoshop, video editing, motion graphics. Why would I want to come to Italy to then go and start working in tourism and hospitality? I've worked in a kitchen before, and it was the most stressfulest job ever. People screaming and shouting and going mad. It's just boiling hot in there, and it's the last thing I really want to do. And last one here, tech and international business, mostly in major cities like Milan. So, I mean, I've got some tech skills, but after my last job that I worked in London, I've come to realise that I'm not a tech person. My last job was a lot of coding stuff. I'd basically have to take images, chop them into like different layers, and then I'd have to build them into like a web page with these images on that marketing people from all around the world can go onto these web pages, and they can type out their own text in their own language. So it's called artwork automation. One of our customers was Jack Daniels. So I'd get given one of the cool pictures. I used to love working for Jack Daniels, the cool pictures that I have. So you'd have all of these different types of bottles of the Jack Daniels brands. And in some countries, some of those brands don't exist. So I'd create a drop down menu, so you could say, right, this is for the European country, or this is for South America, and it would get rid of the brands of the bottles that are not needed. It would then have the text would then change into Brazilian or something, and then the marketing person themselves could then change that text. They could click into a text box and change it a little bit. So yeah, I discovered after 7 years of doing that job, I can't stand coding. I just want to see images and video. That's my sort of thing, just that sort of stuff. I'm going to try to buzz through a bit more of this list. So starting a business or working freelance. So as I say, I'm trying to start my own brand, my own business for my daughter's YouTube channel, Julia Connor J. From there, I want to try and maybe go into maybe doing books, I don't know, maybe t-shirts and such like, and all that sort of stuff. So in starting a business, it says here, it points out the negatives of high taxes for self-employed, bureaucracy and paperwork, which is a previous video I've done, late payments and business culture. Sometimes you'll be chasing up invoices, but people will just basically be asleep. They won't be working in normal hours that I'm used to. Digital nomad life in Italy. Again, this goes back to the whole tech thing. I'm not really a tech person. I mean, if I'm lucky enough to find some kind of a remote company willing to employ someone that doesn't necessarily entirely know the Italian language, it's a tricky one for me to negotiate. And then how to succeed in Italy's job market. improve your Italian. I try that every day. It's also another reason why I'm doing the YouTube channel with my daughter. It helps me to try to learn more Italian, and it helps my daughter to try and learn English. Considering my daughter, my 6-year-old daughter, this is not my 16-year-old, I've got 2 daughters. She was born in London, my 6-year-old. So I want her to be able to speak English. She's got an English father, she's got an English side to her family. It's really important to me that she speaks English. So this is why I focus on this YouTube channel. Network. Again, I've got a 6-year-old child. I haven't got time to be going out networking with people. My girlfriend's got the big high-paying job working for the UN agency here in Rome. So I'm basically home dad a lot of the time. I've got to take my daughter to school, pick her up, feed her, play with her. I ain't got time to go out networking. Look for remote opportunities. As I say, since COVID, they're becoming even more scarce. A lot of people now, it's not even called remote jobs now. What's it called? Hybrid jobs. So you still have to be able to go into the office. Yeah, that's the other ones I've basically discussed in previous videos and earlier on. So be prepared for a lower salary and seek a professional to help with taxes and legalities. I think I discussed that in my bureaucracy and paperwork video. So yeah, that's where I'm up to. The other thing as well is previously when I've gone to the airport to go back to England to go and visit family, I've seen English people that obviously live here that are in wheelchairs, and there's Italian people but also speak English that help people with the wheelchairs, going through the airport. They give their documents over, take them to the aeroplane to get them onto the plane first. And I had kind of thought maybe I could just do something like that, and maybe it would be nice for these English people to have an actual English person that does that. But as yet, I've not managed to find out how I'd even get one of those jobs. Next time I go back to the airport, if I see one of these guys, I'm gonna collar them. I'm just gonna ask you, mate, how do I get your job? Where do I apply? But yeah, that's the other thing as well. I mean, working, my mum always says to me, why don't you just get a job in the airport? But I said, a lot of the time, even that, they'd want you to be able to speak basic enough Italian. If I'm just working in a cafe or something at the airport, there's still going to be Italian people that come and order stuff from that cafe. So I'd have to be able to speak Italian. So it's just very stressful. I mean, I used to find just finding a job in England quite stressful, but when you're trying to find it in another country, mate, unless you're lucky enough, I mean, I'm at that point now where I'm basically just trying to make my own work. Everyone keeps saying, start your own personal brand, which is what I'm trying to do with my daughter's YouTube channel. And from that, there's plenty of things I try and do and make my own digital products to sell. And at the same time, as I say, when I'm trying to do home dad, there just isn't enough hours in the day sometimes to do these things. I mean, just trying to do these videos for this YouTube channel at the moment is quite complex enough. I'm literally having to wait for my daughter and my missus to Foxtrot Oscar, and then I'm having to rush out these videos, trying to bang them all out, trying to get all of the description, the title, edit the video, upload it. I have to try and do all of that in this short amount of time. I mean, they're probably going to phone me in about half an hour to come and pick them up again. So it's just, everything's just mania. It's just manic. As I say, it's just chaos. My girlfriend's mind just fires off 1,000 miles per hour with all these different things. She's not a very calm and balanced person because she's Italian, basically. So, and as I say, my daughter's very challenging. She'd come back, she'd be bouncing off the walls. Then my girlfriend would be screaming and shouting at her, then be screaming and shouting at me about starting the dinner, doing this and doing that, and why haven't you done this? And I'm just like, man, I'm just trying to survive in life every single day. It's just like, I'm just an absolute emotional punch bag most days. Anyway, that's where I'm going to leave this video, and see you later.